Glenn, I'm not talking just to myself. We have a team that is just tuning and doing the text check in the back.
You sure you're not talking to yourself?
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
So some speakers, Glenn, they look at me and they're like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "We actually have a team in the back that is listening in."
That's excellent. Excellent.
Yep. Welcome. We are live now, Rob.
Absolutely. Welcome, Prosperity Inner Circle. I'm so excited. It's another Tuesday and we have a phenomenal guest today. I think you're in for a treat because I know that a lot of you have been waiting for a topic like this, right? How can you be successful in life and in business, but have it all? You can have your health, you can have your happiness, you can have your finances, right? But there's an actual framework for that. There's a couple of tools that you can implement in your toolbox. And today we have a renowned speaker and guest here on the show. And let me give him a quick introduction because we're talking about a very, very accomplished man and entrepreneur that have influenced so many. So before I introduce his name, I would like to give a little bit of background. So our guest today is a world-renowned expert in the field of bodywork and a specialist in performance body mechanics. And just that word alone excites me, body mechanics. Right, he's the co-founder of CreateHealth Nevada, and he has designed the body makeover program to help and influence so many people around the world. And his passion is really to empower health conscious individuals from all ages to see and feel the best that they can be. Now, and that alone is such a powerful statement. So please help me welcome Glenn Hall, everyone. Angeline, thank you so much.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this show today, Angeline and Rob. I feel very grateful to share with the audience what we have to empower you and to give you more enjoyment and gain more awareness in your life and to help you create your vision and your mission for the future.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, Glenn, you know, we met in Vegas, one of the events, right? And I saw you. I said, wow, how did you have so much energy? And then I get to know you and see the work. And I personally experience myself. It's really transformational. And Rob asked me, Angeline, what kind of work did he do to you? Is that it's so hard for me to describe. Would you, as a founder, and would you tell the community the uniqueness of your work? It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's an interesting work. It's very powerful. It works from both the Western point of philosophy and also the Eastern point of philosophy, and we blended the two together to create a work that releases the structural body, but also on the emotional level that it releases too, because they're attached together. And we do it through a form of technique which is more a blend of martial art work, which is internal, and using equipment to release the human body from the bonds that have binded up in your structure over everything from trauma to emotional stimulus that tightens your body up. And so we have a way of working on it and getting past your emotional guards and releasing all this hard tissue in the body. And it brings you back to your original shape. And of course, it upgrades you mentally and even spiritually. But it's very hard to explain from a perspective of when you get the treatment done. It's a wow moment, but at the same time, you can feel the changes instantly from it. And so when I work on people, it's very hard for people to explain it to others. And if you have any questions on the technical parts of it, and that it would be forever for me to explain it. But the work it speaks for itself, and you just try it out.
You need to experience for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Tony Robbins, right, flew all the way to even come to Las Vegas to see you to do the work. So can you share a little bit about the experience when you work with Tony's and and things like
Yeah,
that.
Tony, because he's up on stage for long periods of time, it really takes a toll on a man who's 6'7" and weighs, 290 to 300 pounds, and
Wow.
jumping up on stage. So his adrenaline is really flowing to keep the audience alive. And so when he comes, he needs his body to calm down, because he can produce about 8 times the amount of adrenaline than the average person. That's how powerful he is. And so when he comes to me, he's pretty beat up. And so I got to put him back into place again and balance him out. And by releasing all that adrenaline that tightens up the human body, this work here is very, very powerful for him. And so he gets the relief that he's looking for from that perspective. And then, of course, also it brings his body back into the original height and the shape too at the same time. Because, when you get tired, your posture starts to change. And so that's part of it. And he's been coming to me for many, many years. In fact, he takes me around the world too, when need be. So, yeah, it's fun working with Tony, because I get to listen to all of his things, from his book writings to his new thoughts and he's always on the search for new peak performance and finding the latest and greatest biohacks and mind, and having a good mindset, right? So.
Yeah. So like people like Tony Robbins, very busy. And in our community, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and also want to start, some people want to start their own business. And with such a busy lifestyle, can you share with us some tips the busy entrepreneur they can implement so that they can use the least amount of time and have the maximum result for their health?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've done over the years is discover that as entrepreneurs, it's hard to find time for yourself. And I believe that if you can just push just a little bit of time. Now, I know a lot of people like to work out and try to get their energy going and feel good. And they do about an hour of cardio every day or every other day. It's really, really not necessary to do that amount, number one. Number two, if you can do more of your workout programs in a 30-minute manner, you'll actually get more success out of it and more benefits than you would if you were lingering around for another 30 minutes, to 60 minutes. In fact, if you go over the 30-minute marker, what happens is your body becomes inflamed, and you actually are not succeeding. You're actually breaking down your body, and you're not giving it a chance to recover. So one of the first things I would suggest for people who are actually going to working out in the mornings is just to do 30 minutes. And you can do it to a point to where you would do either what they call a HIIT program, which is a high intensity program for 30 minutes, you're done. And the other benefit that comes from that is you don't get hungry afterwards, right? Because when you start going over that 30-minute mark, your body starts craving lots of food, sugar, right? And then you end up eating more than you did trying to burn those calories off, so to speak. And then you're just in a vicious cycle of inflammation and then hunger, right? Mm. So we want to break away from that. That would be a simple little habit in itself.
Beautiful. And Glenn, I know that there's so many people that are looking to elevate their health game, right? They like you said, they are busy in the process of entrepreneurship. They're busy to achieve those goals or to achieve that big dream that they have. But then, like you mentioned, there's very little time to take care after their health and really take care after this vessel, right? Their body. So before we move into further strategies, would you please explain to us, and let's take you back all the way to the beginning. What empowered you when you were on your journey to what you're currently doing, right? And building business and working with all these incredible people like Tony Robbins. But what caused you to get into this particular field, and why did you prioritize health?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was on a point in my story. I was really burnt out trying to be successful. I had no energy. My body was breaking down. I ended up having a shoulder surgery that left my arm pretty useless for quite a while. And that was a total breakdown in my emotional arena. And I felt powerless at the time. But as believe it or not, Tony Robbins, I started listening to some of his stuff, and that got me out of that poor, pitiful me kind of attitude, and to grow into something that, you know what, you have a thought. If you think this way, you're going to go that way. If you think this, if you think towards the positive side or what you could become, in your potential, then you can go there with just a quick thought, right? You just cancel, delete, go to the next one. And what that helped me start to move into a better direction with my thoughts. And you start to create new experiences. And when you create new experiences, they create new feelings. And when you create new feelings, guess what? You're in a new state of being, right? And that's what makes you grow. And so the first thing I thought of is like, how can I do something for myself first to make myself feel good? Then I can help others out. And that was the key point that transitioned me from being having a nervous breakdown to, wow, I don't have to think this way anymore. And by getting up in the morning, the first thing you do is get that mental focus in there and have gratitude for everything around you. I think that's the big piece of the puzzle. When you have gratitude for all the people that are around you and what you can do, that makes your heart grow. And when your heart grows, it stimulates a great emotion inside your body. And the more that you feel those good feelings, those thoughts creates an emotion. That electromagnetic energy just pushes you into a very good direction to inspire, to have virility, to wanting to help and help people out in your community because you feel good. You want to share that with the rest of the people. And I believe that's why health is so important for your wealth.
Wow. Health is so important for your wealth. Yes. Right. That's such an important key lesson there because, and I'm sure, Angeline, you would agree, like in our organizations, we coach a lot of people, we work with a lot of students, and every time we hear the same story over and over again. Like I'm way too busy to accomplish that financial success, but we're neglecting the health in the process. So what happens is that maybe people reach a point where they reach a level of obesity and maybe because of that, it creates additional stress on their joints, on their organs, and it causes other chronic illnesses. But we found ourselves, because I know that Angeline has a strict health regime and I do too. So we prioritize our health, but we found ourselves hard to explain why this is so important so that it resonates with people that they have to prioritize their health. What would you say, Glenn, to those people that are still doubting if they should actually prioritize their health?
I would say that how can you help somebody out if you're sick? Right? If you're sick, you can only give so much care to somebody else or to help somebody get to a successful place. If you don't feel good, that resonates out there to the people that you communicate with every day. If you're looking very tired or your eyes are very puffy or you didn't get enough sleep the night before, that shows. And if your voice doesn't express that energy, guess what? You're going in the wrong direction. And for me, if you think about stress is it's a silent killer. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that when you're stressed, you're in a fight or flight mode. Mm. And people don't realize that you only use the fight or flight mode in short term. But if you're always in constant fight or flight mode, you're burning out your body. And not only are you burning out your body, you're burning out your brain. it actually starts to fray away at the hippocampus, which is your memory, right? So you start losing, a little bit of that. So stress to me is one of the things you got to think about. And if you're very healthy, you can handle more stress than the average person. And when you handle it better, what happens is it raises your immune system up to meet the demands of what you are trying to give throughout that day.
Wow.
So number one is don't be chased by the big bear every day.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want, it's not a natural thing to be chased by the big bear. That only happens every once in a while, and your body needs that, right? So don't feel like every time you wake up in the morning, there's a bear by your bed.
Yeah.
So what do you do about it? Well, we talked about exercise a little bit. That really helps calm you down and burn off that extra energy to get your hormones back in balance, right? The other thing is maybe a form of meditation or a form of play or something that you truly enjoy that takes your mind away from business for the moment to bring clarity to the mind again. When you do that, you shut off your cortisol levels, that big bear chasing you, and you come back to balance again. When you do that, when you go back to your activity of how to develop wealth, you have clarity in mind and your body is fully ready to take on the actions that it needs to take to make your world a more enjoyable way of living. Yes?
Amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yep. So when you find yourself stressed, take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath. Take a few.
Yeah. Hey, and Glenn, we have a couple of questions from the audience coming up. And there's actually a very intriguing question right here coming from the audience asking, Glenn, what is the difference between the chiropractic method and the one that you're currently using? And I'm sure you may hear this often, right? And does it also entail the body's hand manipulation component? I would personally, for the person formulating this question, bonus points to you because that's an awesome one.
That's a great question. And what I would like to say is that in the chiropractic world, they believe in manipulating the bones back to center to stimulate nerve growth and also the emotional arena. And it's a form of manipulation. In our work, we don't manipulate. We actually physically move something back into place. So it's not like I have to think about letting go of something. Your body naturally lets go of it because we're physically unwinding it back. So we move bone and we move tissue at the same time. We also get in past your emotional guards so that you can relax into it. And that's the difference. And so we actually do more than one thing. And we don't, like I said, manipulation is like take a deep breath, hopefully you let go, and something can move back into place. Where in our thing there, we realize that tissue holds the body together and it holds the bones together. It isn't the opposite way around. So in our philosophy, you can put if you can put a skeleton and make it stand straight up, that's an incredible feat. But that's not the case. We are surrounded with so much tissue that holds those bones together that creates the mortar of your body. So if you release the tissue, it naturally moves the bones back to where they used to be. And I believe that's the difference between the chiropractic world and the way we approach it from our perspective.
And is this a ongoing process, Glenn? It's not like you do this one time, because we always have like emotions and things like that on a daily basis. So is this an ongoing process?
That's a very good question, Angeline. One of the things that comes into my mind right away is that how long have you had a particular challenge? Okay? If you had it for 20 years, then there's going to be a lot of stimulus in that area that really shortens and thickens the the connective tissue in the human body. And it grows like a mat, right? It just keeps layering on top of each other. So you're peeling off one layer, and then another layer underneath might show on up. And as it shows on up, that's basically what we're doing. We're reversing the history of how that body got to that position. But the emotions that are attached to it also are an indication of how old it is too, right? So if you were in your childhood years and you sprained your ankle or you fell off your bike and you hurt your knee, it's a new feeling. It's not something you ever felt before as a 5-year-old, right? So now you have a new experience, which creates that belief system. You have pain, and now I have to walk differently. Or you try to rub it off, or your body says, well, I got to shift my body a different way to get myself out of pain. Now you created a pattern. Now that pattern starts to grow and it gets shortened and thickened in the area there. And then over the years, you have now realigned your body to a different way to get yourself out of pain. So that is a stored memory, a stored trauma. So when we get in and we work it, we release that stimulus in there. Now, if it's a recent injury, they're very easy to correct. They're very easy to get rid of. But when someone has something that's been 20 years old, then it takes a little longer. But at the same time, our work works at light speed because people feel the instant release and the instant changes right away. And so when we work, we might need to work on someone maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe up to 10 for real bad ones like bulging disc or herniated disc or things like that. But their body gets back to where it used to be and in an incredible amount of time. So if you figure 10 treatments compared to 20 years, I think that's working at light speed.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you remember, I don't know if you remember, Glenn, but when you had the opportunity to work with Angeline, right? Mm-hmm. I'm very curious. Maybe my first question addressed to Angeline, do you remember the experience that you got when Glenn was working on your bodily challenges? And then I would like to know from Glenn why exactly you applied that process. So maybe Angeline, can you describe to us the feeling?
Be kind.
I've been more than happy to share, and I'm the type of person, I'm very open. You know the one word I get, it's painful. Like you have no idea how much emotional that we trap in our body. And I still remember the most painful. I have always this shoulder tension for years, chronic pain. And then when he worked on it, it's like really painful. Like Glenn, I still remember when you work on my stomach, I'm like, wow. So now I know why, because that years, right? We all been through, when we grew up, we all have a lot of traumas going on and things, and it build up in our body. Yeah. So maybe Glenn can share why it's so painful.
Yeah, and what was your thought process there when you determined that this was the right approach for Angeline?
Okay, great. When I first worked on Angeline, I was really surprised how tight she was in her body. It was like matter was like condensing so much. It was going into a super. It was like a black hole. Right, yeah. Everything was just being sucked up into her spine, and it was through stress, right?
Yes.
And we all know that Angeline's an achiever.
Yes.
So as an achiever, you can be pretty hard on yourself. So what you do is you really ball up that energy to try to do the best you can, and at the same time, you're contracting your muscles to the where they just stay like that forever, right? And so when you first So as intense as one person gets, that's how intense the body becomes. So you become tolerant to your own emotions, right? That's the stimulus. Now, so when I go to stop moving all that hard tissue that's been locked down for years in there, it becomes, I'm going to say it is painful, but it's a painful of like, yes, please go that way kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a love a love dislike feeling. It's like, oh, thank you for moving it. Yes, my body needs to go that way. But at the same time, it's also releasing all that built up tension that's been in there. And so that brings memories, floods of memories into the arena. Now, it could come in a form of a feeling. It could come in form of a vision. It could come in form of just a gut feeling that something is trying to come on up. And when you do, that's the erasure of the tissue. And then it doesn't go back because it has a new profound feeling and it feels better in that position than it was before. And so as Angeline was letting go, whether it's in the internal, she called the stomach, which is the sea of emotion. We don't realize that our subconscious mind really just stuffs everything down into our stomachs. We don't feel it at the time when we're feeling angst and anxiety and depressed, but it's there and it just keeps building up. And so when I go in there, it's a big aha moment for people. But when they open up, the emotions just flood on out and there's a sense of joy or release or a feeling of wonderment, I guess you want to call it. How would you describe it, Angeline?
I would say, Dr. Glenn, it's the awareness. Before I come to you, I didn't know how tight my body was until you work on it. And now when you talk about it, I realize that step one, it's having awareness.
Yes.
Now I'm aware. I can feel, I have little tension. I can consciously ask my body to relax.
To relax into it because you know what feels good now. And you know where your body, it's a new normal.
New normal.
Right? It's a new normal. And that's the power of the work. And it doesn't matter whether it's a sprained ankle or it's emotional. The work works on all levels of that.
Beautiful. And with that said, Glenn, so we have another question from the audience coming in. And so we have Lady Ray Johnson here on the call right here. And she's a phenomenal entrepreneur. However, she has gone through a very emotional process of cancer. She's a cancer survivor. And she's literally stating, I have a lot of nerve damage in my body, arthritis from the chemotherapy and radiation. And as a result, she has episodes of chronic pain. What do you recommend? What could be somebody in her situation? What could really bring the relief or even potentially solve some internal challenges that she's experiencing?
Right. Yeah. Good one. For me, when we talk about cancer, we talk about how the body handles it. And I believe you have to give it the right environment so that your body can fight that off and to repair it. And one of the things that we understand about cancer is that sugar plays a big role in the production of cellular growth. But the problem is when the body turns around and produces, or let's just say if there's an abundance of sugar in the human body, the cells will divide quicker and faster. And that's what creates the mutation of a cancer cell. And then they become uncontrollable. And then it starts to spread and grow. So one of the things is to give it the right environment. And that right environment is to shut it down and, how would you say, asphyxiate it or choke it off so that it doesn't come on back. And because of that, inflammation is also part of that process, which can create the osteoarthritis or the rheumatoid arthritis in the joint areas. So the first thing we want to do is to, nitrous oxide is a great thing. Now, nitrous oxide, people would automatically think that, it's the stuff that you go to the dentist and it makes you laugh. Well, that's not always the case. Nitrous oxide can help bring new blood flow into the joint areas. So for my suggestion to you is to start to put nitrous oxide into your body, what they call, and there's a company out there that actually develops this, what they call NEO 40. And that
NEO 40.
Yeah, it's something to look at. And that would be just a small piece of the puzzle. There's more than that involved, and I would recommend maybe checking out a HEAL program to get you on the right track. and get your body to reverse that process and to start to get rid of the inflammation out of the body, because that's the biggest thing. We all have challenges, is how much inflammation can you keep away from you, right?
And Glenn, does that mean that because cancer is a sensitive topic, right? And people that have gone through it or are currently going through it, there's two mindsets that I have noticed. Is one is, it is what it is, and I will just go the conventional route, whatever the hospitals and the doctors are advising me to do, versus the people that are, more on the spiritual side and that are in alignment with what you say, that it's also part of spiritual matter where your beliefs can also control partially, the outcomes of your inner state.
Right.
So what would you say is, if you're currently going through cancer or you have gone through any of those therapies, can you actually restore the body with some of the things that you just mentioned, with the oxygen, maybe some inner work?
I truly believe in it. I've seen it. I actually have a client right now. He's just gone through it. He's 57 years old. And he has cancer that was spreading in from his throat into his jaw. And they went through some pretty harsh treatments. So now he's in the so he went through the program, and he went through it beautifully without actually even taking any medications. All we did was we helped him restore his body as quick as possible while he was going through the radiation and the chemo. And now he's come out the other end, and he's made it, and he feels good, except for now he feels he needs to recover from all of the poison that's been injected into his body. So to me, what you need to do is detox that and get that out of your system, and then start to strengthen your organs again so that you can regenerate new growth and upgrade your immune system. And by doing that, there are many ways to doing it. I think when you go the conventional way with medicine, and it has its place to help get rid of something, I believe there's an accountability and a responsibility for you that gives you the second chance to go ahead and take care of it now. And not only take care of it, but see how much you can reverse that process so that you never have to go back through that again. So when you do go back to the doctors and they look at you and they go, wow, what are you doing? You say, well, I took responsibility for myself, and I found out and discovered what works the best to make my body do the best it can to release or to stop any further disease process from coming in and taking over my life.
Wow. Wow, I think that's so profound, and thank you for sharing, because we have a lot of audiences that are watching us right now that either have experienced something similar, or they have relatives. And I think nowadays, and this probably applies globally, right? There's so much development of chronic illness, obesity, cancer. But the question is, right, do you believe that this is just the way it is, and you will just put a Band-Aid on it by going to a hospital and a doctor to get a surgery? Or is there something in your lifestyle perhaps that you can take responsibility over? And maybe it's also partially the mind, right? In how you believe, the beliefs that you have about your health and about yourself, and how our entire body is connected to the spirit.
Yeah, very good, Rob. Yeah, I totally agree with you. The thing about it is when you think about your life, do you leave it to chance or do you leave it to choice? Right? Beautiful. Chance or choice. I prefer to put choice as opposed to chance. So I'm not going to turn around and think that my genetics is going to make me grow healthy. I have to make choices in my life to do that. Even if it gives me a second, even if I had challenges before, I have a second chance at doing it by creating that choice. And it's the same thing if you want your wealth. You're not doing chance, you're doing choice, right? So I'm not leaving chance that, money is going to come to me. It's a choice to find out people like Angeline and Rob to come in and help you and empower you and give you the choices you need to be successful. And when you do that, then your wealth not only exceeds there, but emotionally, you feel more enjoyment, you gain more of your health, you do more for others, and you empower yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so you get all these things in there through your program or through other programs to help you. Now, if you can listen to someone who's already had all this experience, they can cut that time out for you, right? So why not go ahead and get some perspective and shed some light on how I can do it in the shortest way. I mean, I wish I knew this years and years ago. Between my wife and I, it took over almost 75 years to experiment and to grow and to see what works and what doesn't work. And then we created a program to do this and say, hey, cut out this. This is a myth. This is a misconception. These are the mistakes you made. Now we'll share this with you and you can cut through all the crap and just go straight to the source.
Yeah.
And find your manual and learn how to read it.
Beautiful.
Learn how to read it, right? You have a manual, Angeline, Rob, you have a manual to help your people for success, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta follow it. You gotta learn how to read it. It's no different in the health industry. You gotta learn how to read it. And so coming back to that natural awareness that Angeline brought up a while ago on the physical part, which is the soma flow therapy that I do. But there's also another awareness. And that awareness is your body's inside chemical reactions in there, right? How do we create a better environment so that your body says yes to 50 trillion cells and go, woo, let's go. We're on a ride here, right?
That sounds so exciting.
Exactly. That alone, it gets me excited.
Yeah. Yep.
Glenn, so let's switch it up a gear and bring it back to the business side of things, right? Because now we talked a little bit about the health aspect and the overall, like, how do you take care of this vessel here, right? So to keep you at peak performance. But I'm curious, and maybe start with Angeline, because you learned, and you told me earlier before this interview that you learned so much by working with Glenn and how the physical tension played a role in your success or maybe some of the challenges you experienced. So maybe one question for Angeline and then a question for Glenn. But how does your newfound awareness about your physical, the bodily functions, right, and the stress and all that, the things that we experience and how that crops up in your body, how did that awareness help you move forward and allow you to operate at peak performance today?
Yeah, to me, I love what Glenn says, that chance versus choice, right? Once I have that awareness, I make a decision. I said, I'm going to choose to live healthy. And the other day I wrote down in my journal, what do I want from a vision for myself? It's called health and vitality. And that's what I wrote down. And guess what? Once I wrote it down, I made that commitment. I had that awareness, like Dr. Glenn, that people come to me and help me to achieve the things that I want to achieve. So I think that's very, very powerful. Once you have that awareness, you made that decision, you find the right people. Like I found Dr. Glenn and my trainer, right, to help me, to train me, to get to the next level. And I do believe having a good, coach that who has been there and done that, have the result that you wanted, it's very important. Very
amazing. Very powerful. Thank you for sharing. And so Glenn, a question similar to you. So I know that you're the health practitioner and you're helping some phenomenal CEOs and I think like most people are aware of Tony Robbins and how he's always at the top of his game and at peak performance. But what is it that you do for yourself, right? You mentioned that earlier, like we can help a lot of other people, but what do you do for yourself to make sure that you stay on top of your game and you're always at peak performance?
That's great question, Rob. I think one of the things, I like to share something that Tony said once too. And this is during when I was working out with him and getting him to his peak performance. He said, modern day society has some great technological advances. As we speak right now, people from around are listening in on this conversation, whether it's visual through the camera or through audio. And it's incredible. We can reach out and touch people with that. One of the things that I believe that modern day technology does is help that out. But at the same time, it also can be a disadvantage in taking our awareness away. So when you're walking around with a phone in your hand all day long, you forget about that you're a human being, that you're still a thinking animal, and that there are still laws that apply to you naturally through life. And one of the things that I would like to share that Tony has given me is that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do is not pick up the phone, not look at your emails, not look at a computer screen. You just leave it behind and do what you do to take care of yourself. When you do that, you come back with a healthy attitude, and then you feel refreshed enough to start your day with your business. And that's the one thing that I do personally. In the morning, I do not reach for my phone. In fact, it's shut off. In fact, at night, I shut it off at a certain time so that I can turn around and relax and let my mind settle on in so that I can have a good night's sleep. It's the same thing in the morning. By doing that simple habit, you will gain more access to your power, your awareness, just by shutting off modern day technology just to quiet your head. And by doing that, you'll do more too, because now you're not distracted. Now you're not multitasking. Now you can focus on one thing. In fact, if anything, it helps you focus more on the task at hand than instead of multitasking, because your brain cannot do two different things at once. I'm sorry to say that everyone thinks that you can get more done. Yeah. Studies say quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? So in our martial arts and our Tai Chi, you focus on one thing. And when you move with that focus. You do not distract yourself, because if you do, your body all of a sudden goes out of sync. Your mind is not connected with your center, and your movements and your alignment is all cattywampus, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So that'd be the one thing I say is do not throw yourself out of alignment. Learn how to focus by turning things off that distract you just for a little while. That's it. It's a simple, healthy thing to do. And if you do it every day, you notice you get stronger. And you'll notice that you break that habit within 21 days or 21 to 30 days, they say.
Yeah. Wow. So powerful. And Glenn, we talked about the morning rituals, the morning formula earlier on before we got on today. So I wanna give you my morning formula, and I would love to invite you just to let me know if I'm on the right track, or if you can recommend something else that will take us to that peak state. And Angeline and I, we have another community called the 5 a.m. Club, and we call it the Miracle Morning. And inside this community, we're actually teaching the principles of having a solid morning ritual that you do every day to prime yourself. And I think you mentioned to have a healthy attitude, right? I love that. That sounds phenomenal. So to have that healthy attitude by the time that you get back, and I think that nowadays, probably 85% of the people, they work behind the computer, right? So we're spending all day behind the technology. So my ritual is I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. The first thing that I do is I go straight to grab a cold, tall glass of water to fuel my body with water. So the formula there is seek light, seek movement, seek water. And then the second thing that I do is I actually listen to empowering audios that can teach me something positive and motivating, so that I raise my vibrations to a higher level. And then the third thing I do is I grab a book and I try to spend at least 30 minutes to get another 10 pages of my favorite book in before I go on to exercise. And then I spent an hour, and I know that you mentioned that 30 minutes would be a good time frame. I usually spend an hour because I really enjoy exercise. And then the last thing that I do is when I come home, I actually set the intentions, and I script out my day. I block off my time. I set the intentions for what I want to achieve, how I want to show up, and how I want to serve other people. And I know that Angeline's ritual is fairly similar. Right.
Right. That's great, Rob. I don't know how much more I could add to that. But that's excellent. I think one of the things that I would say, well, the first thing is, and this is very small, is you said cold water.
Yeah.
I would say not cold water. Right. Your stomach doesn't like cold water. It's like throwing cold water on your face. It shocks it. Right. So maybe temperature water would be better.
Okay. All right.
But and my question to you then is the exercise and then the reading of the books and the audio or listening to someone to motivate. How do you, when you motivate yourself, do you visualize that? That you're being like that?
So I have tried, and I know Angeline is much more experienced and advanced than I am, but I've tried to meditate, to hold a clear mental picture of where I want to be, where I want to go. How do I see myself as my best self? But now I'm using audio because, for example, I listen to Bob Proctor. He's one of my favorite narrators.
Yes.
And the way that he explains, the human psychology and our role inside this planet and the universe, it really helps me to create that mental picture just by listening to his voice. So to me, it's almost like guided meditation where I listen to the principles, and then it allows me to be still and just project me into that particular future or frame of mind as he is talking through these audio. So I'm actually using the audio as a form of meditation.
Very good. Well, one thing that I would add to that is the feeling along with the vision.
Beautiful.
Because when you put the feeling in it, that makes it grow inside you. Right? When you add two senses to the body, it creates a powerful movement. So if you're feeling the power of the vision that Bob Proctor is giving you, I want you to feel it inside you. Make it become yours. So if that's empowering, or if that's enjoyment, or that's a good feeling or a sense of accomplishment, those things, when you add that in there, you just boosted yourself further for your day. Yes?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That right there actually stimulates the chemical reactions in your body and in your brain.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, because I think that a lot of people are wondering, okay, if I add emotion, but what's the effect of that? So you're actually saying it triggers a chemical reaction to the brain that has a positive effect on your state of mind. And
yes, it does. And it actually changes what they call the neural connections, or they call it neuroplasticity, but it changes the actual way you think, because you are attaching. So the wires in your neural connections actually shift to another way of pattern. And then that becomes the new pattern. And that new pattern creates new change in your body and in your mind and in your even your physical being, right? Yeah. And then you start to shed away all those negative thoughts, or you start hearing the words that you're using instead of like words like I'll try, or I should do this, or I could have done that. You're starting to use more empowering words, because the emotions that attach to those words create that drive, that motivation, that achievement that we as human beings are always, we're born with that. We're born to being creative, right? You can't go out in nature and live in nature without being creative to survive. I mean, that's just a natural instinct. But in the world of modern day, we still have to be creative to survive if you want to be an entrepreneur, right? So we got to keep that creation going. And to do that, you need to expand that mind with your feelings.
Yeah. Wow.
That's very powerful. Hey, Dr. Glenn, just by talking with you, I'm already feeling energy already.
You know, I was very blessed and grateful when I met you, Angeline, in the Bill Walsh. In fact, of all the people that I was, when I was in there with my beautiful wife, Shoshi,
yeah,
you were the light, the beacon in that whole thing. And we just felt such joy and pleasure to know you, and your spirit was just full of spunk. And that spunk is the reason why we were attracted towards you. And I am probably just saying this out, but probably the people that you meet feel the same way about you. So we feel blessed and much gratitude to know you.
Wow, thank you.
I'm glad the circle is complete now that we've come around again to being together.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah. And Rob, and I got to say that you have the same kind of energy.
Thank you.
I totally enjoy your company today.
Incredible. And thank you for joining us on this interview today. It's an absolute honor because these are some very, very profound subjects. And I think that just by listening to the discussions today here, it can seriously change somebody's state of mind. And if you change your state of mind, it has the power to change, some of these growing illnesses or growing challenges that we're experiencing sometimes in the body. And I believe, like, I know, Glenn, you're working with so many entrepreneurs, and some are very spiritually evolved, like Tony Robbins, but some other CEOs, they may be just focusing on producing the money and the power and the influence, but they're completely disconnected from how our body and mind is connected to that physical stress that we're pushing our bodies through. So I just want to thank you for sharing this, because I think that this can seriously change somebody's life if they're willing to listen and to prioritize their health. Like you say, make it a priority rather than a choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Glenn. I know you have another appointment need to run. And I also know that you bring amazing gift to our community.
Yes. I have a gift if for people, if this resonates for you, you can I'm giving a gift out for a 30-minute free consultation. And if you sign up for that, you can go to my website at CreateHealth Nevada.
CreateHealthNevada.com.
And for people who sign up for the free consultation, you can go to my schedule and fill in a consultation on my web calendar, that is, and it will show up. Just register there. Now, if you're interested in the not only the consultation, if you do that right away, we also have a free gift for you, and it's called the 5-Day Get Up and Move Challenge. Wow. And you can sign up for that. It's free for all who come in for the 30-minute free consultation. And it's at CreateHealthNevada.com/5-day challenge.
/5-day challenge. Yes, and I know the team is taking notes, so I see that people are dropping already the URL here on the chat, Glenn, so we have properly registered that. So guys, there you have it, a free consultation with Dr. Glenn. If you're currently thinking about your health, if you're looking to create a blueprint and to learn some of these inner work exercises, please connect with Dr. Glenn and take advantage, right? Take advantage of these calls. And I thank you so much, Glenn, for being so generous, because I think this is really profound. And that's what the show is about, to give people the tools and the resources to create that breakthrough in their journey. And I think you have delivered on that promise, and it was inspiring. So guys, go and take advantage of that and connect. And Glenn, is there another way for people that we can follow your journey? Because you're working with so many extraordinary people, and you're doing such a great work. Is there another way to follow your journey as you're progressing?
Yes, we do have the Body Heal Makeover program.
Yes,
and it's on our website, and you can look at it, and it's really a powerful and simple program, and it gives you the manual how to restart your health and look and feel 10 years younger. Actually, I don't know if you're 10 years old, well, maybe not so, but for us people in our 60s and 70s, this is great.
Guys, if you want to be beautified by Glenn himself, then take advantage and use the program. Reverse engineer the aging process. Glenn, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you, Angeline, for inviting Glenn over. This was absolutely profound. I'm super excited to go back into the health game right away, because this is, it provides energy. This provides perspective. And isn't that what today's interview was about? How to succeed in life while having happiness and health. You can have it all. Glenn, I have one more question for you, or actually, I would want to ask you to close us out as we're coming to a close. Is there one piece of advice that we haven't addressed yet today that you can leave our audiences with as they're processing everything that was discussed here today?
Yes, I would like to leave this thought for everyone to consider, is to listen to the language in your head. And listen to see how you talk to yourself. If you're talking to yourself in good thoughts, then you're on a journey to success, whether that's through your wealth or your health. If you're always talking, downplaying your thoughts in your head, I would recommend that you write them down and see how many times it comes up through the day, and then change it.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Love you both. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Angeline, for having me on this show.
It was our honor, Glenn. And hopefully in the near future, we can get to do this again, because I'm sure that there's a lot of changes happening right here on this spot. So hopefully in the near future, we can do this again and have kind of a recap, because 2020, it has been certainly a different year for everyone.
Yep. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Glenn. Thanks, Rob. And I see you guys next week at the same time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good day to all of you.
Thank you.